Hey folks, hope you're doing really well. Welcome back to another little video. Welcome to a very breezy and chilly early autumn afternoon. The kids are back at school, including my two. The nights are drawing in and the bloody Christmas adverts are starting already on the telly. I saw my first one earlier today. Terrible, terrible. And it just means one thing, so we may get a few warm days still, a little late summer burst or an Indian summer, whatever you call it, but make no mistake, winter is waiting in the wings, doing its vocal exercises, tuning up. And thoughts turn to maybe some of the colder rides, some of the winter rides that we've got later on this year. So I thought as I go around today, just a little afternoon ride, looking for a particular spot, but we'll get into that shortly. Thought I'd talk a little bit about the topic of winter bikes. Do you actually need a winter bike? What do people actually mean by, you know, I'm using my winter bike at the moment, and is it necessary, or is it just some kind of marketing BS that far too many people buy into? Anyway, all that and more coming up. Let's get out of the wind. If you know the area, we're just skirting around the mighty Whitehome Reservoir. Whoa, it's so windy. There's no shelter up here whatsoever. Oh. Well, a welcome little bit of sun, and I've just stopped here for a second to really just show you where we are. There's views now across to Studley Pike behind me, and I think sort of over that way will be Mankinholes. We've got Cragvale really behind me, and we're on this little sort of single track terrain. It's very, very peaty in places, quite difficult riding. It's almost like riding on ice, riding on mud. And silly me, I've not brought any equipment out today, so I can't film and ride at the same time. Proper amateur YouTuber, hey. But I think what we're going to do is pick up a little track in a couple of minutes that just heads off down to the right, and then we're looking for this really old sort of 15th century or earlier stone with some Latin inscription. It could be possibly a boundary marker between Mankinholes and Cragvale. I don't really think people are sure what it is. It's not on my cycling map, it's not on my commute map whatsoever, but it is on Google Maps, and as I might have said earlier, it's in the Journal of Antiquities. It's got its own little listing, so I thought it'd be quite a cool excuse for a bike ride to try and find it. I mean, it probably is looking for a needle in a haystack, but we'll give it a go, and yeah, onwards into the wind. Whew. Oh, my poor bike is absolutely filthy after all that peat bog and single track, and we're absolutely in the middle of nowhere here. We've just picked up the Coaldale Way, which is heading down towards Mankinholes, I believe, and just got to this gate, and I've just spied the other side this tiny little unassuming rock, which I think is the target destination for today's ride. I think that is the Te Deum. Sorry, my Latin's not up to scratch. Medieval marker. Let's have a look. Try not to. Just trying to open this gate in the wind. So it has a, I suppose, an early Christian cross on the top and the Latin inscription or the initials down at the bottom, and I think there's something on the other side according to the stuff I saw online. I can't see it though. Oh yeah, here. No, I don't know, I can't read that, can you? What an excuse for a bike ride. Alright, let's have a look at the official blurb. Let me just get my phone out. Journal of Antiquities. Okay, this is Te Deum Stone, Withensgate. We're in West Yorkshire here. It's a medieval marker or boundary close to a wall. Yeah, no kidding. Between Cragvale and Mankinholes on the Calderdale Way, which is where we are here. That's going down to Withensclough Reservoir. The stubby little stone, yeah, you don't say, is now only a few feet high. Originally it was much taller, but it's been vandalised over the years. That's a shame. In 1956 it was restored to what we see today by the Hebden Bridge Local History Society. Kudos to them. The cross, and below that 2 letters in Latin, TD, which are translated as being Te Deum Laudamus, or we praise thee, O Lord. Whilst on the opposite face the letters BG, TB were perhaps carved in more recent times, indicating that the stone has been used as a boundary marker. I'm guessing that's a boundary between Mankinholes over there and Cragvale over that way. Originally stone was in use as a coffin rest. Coffins were carried along the old pack horse route, which is this one here. You can see all the old markers there. Wow, it's windy, hope you can hear this. Placed on top, coffins were placed on top of the stone and prayers said for the deceased before the journey was continued to its final resting place. A number of similar stones in the area and elsewhere, some with quite intricate carving, crosses and lettering, most of them probably dating from the 15th or 16th century. Anyway, enough blathering, I'm going to get out of the wind and then let's have a chat about winter bikes, shall we? But yeah, pretty cool. It's amazing to think that that little thing has its origins 500 years ago, maybe older than that, and the actual original meaning use is just completely lost in the mists of time. Anyway, let's find some shelter down this way. had one sachet of hot chocolate left from the trip up to Scotland, so I thought we'd have a hot drink on the way round. I'll just take a minute and enjoy the view, chat about winter bikes. So I think here in the UK the concept of a winter bike is really just around having an option for bad weather days, and obviously you'll have more than your fair share of bad weather days in the UK over the winter. It's kind of cold, it's wet, you get a lot of runoff, you know, grit and dirt and oil and salt from the de-icing that takes place over the winter in the UK on the roads. So the conditions really do quite, deteriorate quite markedly, and a lot of people have a second bike, typically a much cheaper bike than their best bike or their summer bike, and that's the one that they'll use over the winter. So typically you'll have a bike with bigger tyres and chunkier tyres just to give you a little bit more traction in those poor conditions. You'll certainly have a bike that's got mudguards, and you're maybe looking for a bike in terms of a winter bike, a secondary bike to use over that season that you kind of don't care about so much. And a lot of people with their best bikes, they'll only ever take them out in perfect conditions, and I think if anybody's watched this channel, you know that that's not really my approach to my bikes. And I suppose I don't really have a winter bike per se, and I'll certainly be riding the mountain bike that I'm riding today throughout the winter. I don't really think the concept of winter bikes applies to the mountain bike community. I don't really know, correct me if I'm wrong. It's just kind of a road bike thing, and I guess it's just a road bike thing in countries where you get a deterioration in conditions over that winter period. I think my personal view is, it's probably no surprise to any of you that have watched my channel, is you certainly don't need a winter bike. But that being said, I get the idea, I get the concept, and I think if you're able to, if you've got the budget or the appetite for having lots of options in terms of different bikes, it's actually a great thing to have, because it's peace of mind. You have that option of not trashing or damaging or wearing out more quickly than you need to your best bike, your sort of pride and joy. And people take a lot of pride in the bikes that they have, and they like to have them in really good conditions. And if to get outside in the winter, you need to be on a second bike, one that you're a little bit less precious about, then I think more power to your elbow and all that. As I said, my view is you don't need a winter bike, you don't have to have one. So if there's anyone watching this thinking about, oh my god, do I need a winter bike for the winter season? Of course you don't. There's lots of options between having a second bike and just going out on your best bike, your sort of summer bike, and that could be changing the tyres to something that's a little bit wider, a little bit more robust, gives you a bit more traction, putting on some mudguards. I have the SKS Race Brake Pro mudguards that I'll be putting on my Boardman SLR road bike over the winter. I'll be using that bike less, and when the conditions are really bad, I will be using my sort of gravel bike. That's got chunkier tyres, more traction, it's got much wider handlebars, so it's actually more comfortable when I'm wearing lots of layers and I'm wearing thick gloves. And it is an older bike. It's a bike, I wouldn't say I don't care about it, but I'm a little bit, I don't know if I'm maybe a little bit less precious about it. The other thing is it's external cabling, it's got threaded bottom bracket, it's got a lot of components that are really simple to swap out. So if I do wear out components on my Triban, they're typically cheaper and easier to replace than on the other road bike that I've got. So yes, in my view, you don't need a separate winter bike, but I think it's really, really worth winterizing a bike for this season that's approaching, where the weather really turns. So I think what I'll probably end up doing on my, my best bike in inverted commas is early next year having a look at some better, again in inverted, why do I keep saying in inverted commas, having a look at some better wheels, and then the wheels that I've got will de facto become my sort of winter wheels. So it's probably where I'll get to in a year's time. Again, not having a winter bike per se, but sort of winterizing my best bike by changing the wheels, and those wheels will have chunkier tyres on probably, and that'll be the basic sort of change that I'll make around this time of year, around the autumn time. Well folks, even though I was drinking hot chocolate there, I got really cold, so jumped back on the bike to warm up. But yeah, do let me know if you have a winter bike, and around this time of year you'll swap your bikes, put one away for 4, 5, 6 months and just use kind of a cheaper, more hard wearing bike over the kind of rubbish weather season. Or subsequently, or alternatively, if you don't really subscribe to the whole winter bike concept, you think it's more kind of, it's like marketing BS. As I say, it's not something I do. I don't particularly have a winter bike, but I definitely think there's value in winterizing a bike to kind of keep heading outside and keep enjoying the outdoors, even though it's kind of cool and conditions are much worse than the summer. Not that we've had the best summer here in the UK. I hope we'll get a little flurry before the weather really turns, but man, it's cold up here. And yeah, I remember being up here last winter in -10 conditions, so all of that good stuff is yet to come. Anyway, enough blathering. Just remains to stay safe, take care, and whatever season, best bike or winter bike, happy cycling. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.